welcome everybody. Thank you for coming for today's webinar on welcoming and supporting military connected students and families. My name is Kelly Lynn Charles, and I'm an education programs professional with the Department of Education, and I help facilitate the Nevada Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission and coordinate the Nevada Purple Star School Program. And with me today is my colleague, Martha Warchowski, and I will let her quickly introduce herself.
Hi there, my name is Martha Warchowski, and I am the admin assistant for Interim Deputy Superintendent Statuki. What I bring to the table, not as much as Kelly Lynn, because she's been immersed in the military life. I just happened to have been in the Army back in 1974. And also my father taught in the schools overseas. So a little bit like what our military families go through, but not really.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And like Martha said, I am from a military family, and I married a Marine. So as we go today, please feel free to use the chat to ask any questions. You can also use the reaction to raise your hand. We want this to be interactive. We're going to be doing lots of interaction, and we hope you will participate with us. Martha, Tina, Emily, and I will be watching, more so them than me, will be watching the chat for any questions as we go. So like other cultures, the military has its own set of values, beliefs, customs, and language that determines how members interact and behave. Military life is an often misunderstood culture that can be difficult to navigate for educators and even service members. Understanding military culture helps educators better serve the military connected students in their classrooms. And it's equally important for military families to understand the services and supports that are available to them as they navigate the education system. Additionally, community awareness of military culture, its impact on children, and how to handle friendships with military children contribute to the strong and supportive education environment necessary for student success. So let's begin. There we go. By the end of our session today, our goal is that you will gain an understanding of military life and culture, gain a deeper understanding of the impact of military life on education, understand the purpose and history of the Military Interstate Children's Compact in order to assist families in transition, and understand how the Purple Star School Award Program contributes to a supportive education environment for military children. So here are some common abbreviations and terminology that will be used when we discuss the military children and the compact. Like education, the military has its own language, and we often slipped right into it without even knowing that we've left people out of the conversation. So if at any time you hear us use another term that you are unfamiliar with, because it may happen, please let us know, and we will be sure to go back and define that for you. So the first is the compact. The Military Interstate Children's Compact is also called the Interstate Compact on Educational Opportunity for Military Children, and both of those are way too long and a mouthful. So it's shortened to the Compact, or sometimes the Military Compact. MIC3 is the Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission. Again, a mouthful. So we shorten it to MIC3 or MIC3. And the commission was established to provide consistency for mobile military families across states. MIC3 is there to support states and to ensure implementation of the compact, which we will talk about later. There is a national commission and a state commission that Martha and I both help facilitate. PCS means a permanent change of station or permanent change of duty station. And permanent meaning only for as long as they're there before they move to the next station. And interchangeable with duty station are terms like base, installation, or post, but they're all still PCS. Deployment is a temporary station of the service member at another location, typically from 1 to 18 months. And the deployment time period also includes the 1 month prior to the departure and 6 months through 6 months after their return. So it's not just the time period that they are away. MOS is military occupational specialties, and that is code for their job. So for example, when my husband and I met, his MOS was 8152, a Marine security guard. And MOSs can change. LEA, we're almost all familiar with, local education agency, so school or district. We refer to schools as the sending school. So that is the last school that the student attended, and the receiving school. And so that's the school that they are now entering. An SLO is a school liaison officer, and they serve as a primary point of contact for school-related matters. And hopefully those are the only ones that I will use. But again, let us know if we slip up. Okay. Nevada is home to roughly 10,300 active duty service members, 7,650 reservists, and roughly 2,400 military civilians. And it's estimated that approximately 211,000 veterans reside in Nevada. We have 4 military bases: Nellis Air Force Base and Creech Air Force Base here in Clark County, one on the west and one on the east. We have Hawthorne Army Depot and the Naval Undersea Warfare Center in Mineral County, home of the next best military secret conspiracy theories about an underwater submarine base. And then we have Fallon Naval Air Station in Churchill County, which is home of Top Gun, despite the recent movie depicting it's still in California. Members of all 6 branches of the military call Nevada home. So we have active duty Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, Navy, and Space Force. In addition, Nevada has Air Force Reserve units. And like all states, Nevada is also home to National Guard units, Army Reserve units, and recruiting centers. More than 90% of the nation's 1.2 million military children attend civilian-operated public schools. On average, military-connected students relocate about every 2 to 3 years, and they often attend 6 to 8 schools before graduating high school. There are approximately 11,000 military-connected students enrolled in public schools in every grade in Nevada. This is our data as of October of 2020. Military families routinely face frequent moves, parental absences, and the possibility of injury and bereavement. Together, all of these challenges increase the risk of social, emotional, or behavioral problems among children at home and at school. Children's reactions to military life vary with their developmental stage, age, and pre-existing issues. And while many military children thrive, some school-age children may experience a decline in academic performance and have mood changes or even physical complaints, especially when transitioning to new schools and during parental deployments. Children spend a large amount of time in classrooms, so teachers and others in the school environment play important roles in their lives. Teachers and educators who have a better understanding of the issues that military children face are better able to support those students and their families as they face challenges. So in the chat, if you would, please share one assumption that's often associated with military life. And we won't get mad. We've probably heard them all. We move around a lot, yes. Yep. That seems to be the one that's most often known, right? Is that military gaps in education? Absolutely. Especially for the civilian school military children, those that attend school off base. right? That they're strong. Yep. That we make friends easily and quickly. One parent is always away. Absolutely. Absolutely. So military, when we talk about military culture, that's a very broad term because the military also has subcultures. So for example, Marine Corps culture varies greatly from Army culture and from Air Force culture and from Navy culture and from Coast Guard culture, but all combined, there are lots of similarities. So it's not necessary for you to know the specifics about each branch of the military and its subcultures. But like we talked about, and Dr. Allen talked about this morning with cultures, ask, right? That is the best way that you can begin to learn about military culture. You can ask your students about their family, ask them about the branch, ask them what makes their branch different from others. They will probably most likely include jokes about the other branches because we all know that the Marine Corps is the best. And oftentimes if you have children from different branches, you may hear those jokes go back and forth, but that's also part of that military culture. It never, to an outsider, it may seem like derogatory or what, when we say that the Marine Corps is the best. Others will say the Marine Corps is a cult. So it's all different. It's all a perception, right? And the Air Force is a golf club. So it's all there. We don't take it personally. It's all part of our culture. And that may look strange to somebody who's not immersed in that culture. But we will still be honored that you're taking the time to learn about our branch and their culture. And then in all of that, there's another subculture of being a military child. While those outside the military community see the term brat or military brat as derogatory and often try to discourage the use of that term, most military children do not see that as derogatory. Brat is a term that's worn proudly, especially by those who are now adults. We have brat pins and hats and t-shirts and groups and museums. But as with most identities, it's up to the child as to whether they prefer to be called a military brat or a military child. So another way to learn about another culture is through our interactions. Opportunities to interact with service members and veterans is often very limited. So we want to know, how have you engaged with Nevada's military community? Have you attended any events or volunteered with any organizations? Go ahead and drop that in the chat for us so we can see where everybody is. Yes, Iris, exactly. It's part of that shared community. Chair force, yep. Absolutely. Every experience is unique and is often determined by the student's age, grade, and number of moves and/or deployments. And then, of course, the people around them. Additionally, active duty families may have different experiences from those of National Guard or reservist families. One of the most common, like we mentioned, knowing about military families is transitions. Military children are known for high mobility rates in schools and often appear to be invisible in many public school districts. Moving to a different school could mean different state standards. Staff and community may lack the ability to understand military culture, and those around the student may lack the capacity to respond to military life issues. Military students can have difficulty developing relationships with peers and teachers because of the lack of understanding and cultural awareness. For example, asking a military student, "Where are you from?" seems like a very simple question, but it is the most challenging for somebody to answer. I am a grown adult and I still have problems answering that question because I don't know what you mean. But instead, changing the framework and asking, "Where have you lived? Where are you coming from? What was the last place you lived?" That helps bring the student into the community. Yes, very oftentimes very limited support outside because we're away from the core family. And then we have deployments. That's another type of transition. Deployments are a stressful time for the service member and their family back home. Family routines are often disrupted, and the remaining parent is left to manage the household and childcare on their own. Children may fear for the safety of their deployed parent, and younger children who can't understand why the parent is leaving may fear that they won't return. And depending on the type and location of the deployment, the service member may have a limited means of communication, making it difficult to maintain a relationship while they're gone. We've all seen the videos of service members coming home and the surprises and the welcomes with family and the child being reunited at school. We see those videos all the time. But a lot of times what doesn't get shared is when a child doesn't recognize the parent because they've been gone and they're so young. We way back in the 70s, we picked my father up at the airport when you could go to the gate. And my brother was 4 and he ran right by my father and hugged the legs of another gentleman behind him. My brother doesn't remember that, but we do. And so it is challenging. They have to rebuild relationships from the ground up, becoming reunified into the family structure, who's paying the bills, who's bringing kids where. It can be stressful even when the service member returns. And then even more so if the service member returns with physical or psychological injuries. While every child is different and reacts in different ways, younger children may show behavioral problems and attachment difficulties during PCS periods, deployments, and reintegration period. They may have difficulty sleeping, they may have nightmares, excessive clinginess, or even respecting authority. Older children and adolescents may show problems like decreasing grades, anxiety or depression, aggressiveness, even thoughts of suicide and substance abuse. In class, regardless of their age, students may also become quiet or withdrawn as they try to handle their emotions on their own. So how can teachers and schools help? Well, there's lots, and this recognizing military as a culture is one way to help. Another way to help is to identify military children. A parent's military connection is self-reported in Infinite Campus, and often service members do not identify themselves when they're enrolling. So it's important to work with the staff at your school who are the first point of contact for parents and have them begin asking families, are you military connected? Have you ever served in the military? What branch? Are you active duty? When did you separate? These questions should become standard practice asked of all new families. Having an accurate count of military connected students is important, right? Because it's self-reported, we could actually have more military children than we showed you previously. So it's important for 3 reasons. The first reason is relationship building, right? We talked about that. Teachers want to connect with their students, and students want teachers who understand them. And research shows that students have a higher achievement rates and are happier when the adults in their lives understand their culture. The second reason is that the federal government actually provides schools and districts with federal dollars for every military student in the form of impact aid. And this is because LEAs lose local tax dollars because of the military bases in their state. There's no property tax being paid on the thousands of acres that our bases take up. And families that live on base aren't paying property tax either. And that reduces the state education funds. And impact aid serves to offset this. And then finally, we want to identify military students because the Every Student Succeed Act expanded the categories of student success reporting to include military students. And by reporting and tracking student academic data, states can ensure that they are meeting the needs of military connected students the same way that we ensure success for other student populations. But as we start asking parents to identify themselves as a military family in Infinite Campus, The school should also take great care in explaining the confidentiality of data reporting if there are any questions, right? We need to make sure that the military family understands that only numbers are reported and their military status is never publicly linked to any identifiable information. And that's very important for students whose parents' MOS includes like drone operators, where the confidentiality and privacy of that family needs to be maintained. And additionally, front office staff should know that families identifying as military connected will have orders assigning them to their new base or their separation paperwork, which is in the form of a DD 214. And don't ask me what DD, it's department document something. Martha may know. I just realized that's an acronym and I can't remember. It's DD 214. So well, we will get that. I know. So schools and communities can also help students by working to build resiliency. And on the screen, I do have a picture of a dandelion, and that is because the dandelion is the official flower of military children. It is resilient. It is blown to all corners of the globe, and it blooms in the harshest conditions where the seeds land. So it's very representative of military life. So resilience is learned. It's not an innate trait. It is just defined as the process and outcome of successfully adapting to difficult or challenging life experiences. A number of factors contribute to how well people adapt to adversities. Predominant among them are the ways in which individuals view and engage the world, and the availability and quality of social resources. Psychological research demonstrates that the resources and skills associated with more positive adaptation can be cultivated and practiced. It's like building a muscle, right? So increasing resilience takes time and intentionality. We want to focus on things like connection and wellness, healthy thinking, and meaning. And that can empower students to withstand and learn from difficult and traumatic experiences. We want to be proactive. It's helpful to acknowledge and accept students' emotions during hard times. We want to validate and not dismiss, right? We want students to share, be able to trust us with their feelings. So working through them to foster self-discovery, like having them ask, what can I do about a problem in my life? And then helping them break it down into manageable pieces. Prioritize relationships. We want to connect with empathetic and understanding and remind students that they're not alone in the midst of difficulties. This is why, like Iris said earlier in the chat, military children tend to gravitate toward other military students. Right? Is that shared experience and understanding. We want to help them find opportunities for growth, accept change. This is more appropriate for PCSing, not necessarily deployments. Maintaining that hopeful outlook. Sometimes it's hard to stay hopeful when you're moving every 2 to 3 years. It kind of gets old. It's a challenge to try to make new friends when you know that you're just going to say goodbye to them shortly. But switching the framework again, and instead of seeing the negative of leaving, you can look at the positive of going somewhere new, the new experiences that the student will have, the new food to try, the new places that they'll get to go see. Share things about their new location that you know about in order to help gain the excitement for their new location. And then helping others can always help a military student overcome and build resiliency. And that's one reason why the Purple Star School program requires a student-led transition team, so that military connected students can help a new military student feel welcome in the group. Okay, so now we are going to do a little check for understanding. So I don't know if you've ever played Kahoot before, but it's one of my favorites. And they have updated. So you can join in 3 different ways. You can scan your phone to the QR code. You can go to kahoot.it and enter that PIN, or you can click on the link and it will take you directly there. So when I see everybody start getting in, you're gonna go ahead and type your name. We're just gonna ask some pretty quick questions of you. And if you've never played Kahoot before, the goal is to get the question correct the fastest. You get more points the faster you're in. Okay. And we are going to go ahead and start. Ready? Here we go. True or false? Nevada has military connected students in every grade and district. Yes, true. Good job. We are spread throughout the state. Okay. PCS stands for, I won't read them. Yes, although I did like my poor civilian sector choice. So whoever picked that one, I thank you. Okay. How many military bases in Nevada? We have 4. Creech, Nellis, Hawthorne, and Fallon. Good job. Okay, true or false? It is not very important to identify military students. False. It is very important to identify them. Why is it important? Yes, funding, relationships, and academic success. Although our ability to bring varied food for potlucks can be a benefit. True or false? Resiliency is learned. Yes, true. It is a learned trait. It needs to be built like muscles. Good job, Kelly. Okay, last one. Every experience is unique and the impact of military life depends on many factors. true. It does. Age, how many times we've moved. The first one may be more traumatic. By the time you've moved 7 times, oh, somebody knocked you off. Paige, good job. Okay. I am going to get my PowerPoint back. There we go. And thumbs up if we can see it again. Yay. Zoom sometimes is funny like that. So now we're going to move into the Military Interstate Children's Compact, which came about because of everything that we just learned. So take a moment and in the chat, on a scale of 1 to 5, how familiar are you with this? Have you ever heard of it? You know, like you've never heard of it would be a 1. A 5 is, I could help Kelly Lynn do this. 1s, 4s, nice, Robin. Okay. There we go. So we mentioned earlier, SLO is School Liaison Officer. The goal of the SLO is to identify barriers to academic success and to help develop solutions. They promote parental involvement and educate local communities and schools regarding the needs of military children. And they develop and coordinate partnerships. They assist base commanders with the children and incoming families. And they serve as a primary point of contact for any school-related issues for military children. We work hand in hand with the SLOs in Nevada. So there are 4 key topics of the Military Compact: enrollment, placement, and in attendance, eligibility, and graduation. I know, Iris, I keep thinking I want to become an SLO too, but I can't. So I'll stay on this side of it. All 50 states, including the District of Columbia, have joined the MIC3. And the goal of the compact is to strengthen and ease transitions and close educational gaps as military families and their children move to a new school and a new district and a new state. It is meant to level the playing field for military children. It was developed by the Council of State Governments and had lots of stakeholder input. I was actually part of a BRAT stakeholder group that advocated for the passage when it was being developed. And so this has come full circle for me, which is absolutely amazing. Nevada adopted the compact in 2009, and the compact language can be found in NRS. And I think Martha's going to drop that. Yep, she already dropped it in the chat for you. And it applies to kindergarten through 12th grade children of active duty service members, National Guard and reservists on Title 10 orders, veterans medically discharged or retired for 1 year, and members who die on active duty who are enrolled in public schools. There's a proposal currently being evaluated by MIC3 to include National Guard and reservists regardless of their orders. And I won't get into the various title orders, but in Nevada, we recognize the children of our National Guard and reservists have the same exposure to transition issues as children of branch service members. And it is the understanding that Title 5, Title 10, and 32 students can be changing schools. And therefore, it's the stance of the state to extend coverage of military compact to all children of our Guard and reservists as applicable. And then hopefully nationally that will become official soon. The MIC3 Commission has the authority to enforce the compact and rules upon its states by requiring remedial training, requiring mediation and arbitration of disputes. They can impose monetary fines on a state, and they can seek relief in federal court, most likely by obtaining an injunction to curtail state action or to compel compliance. The compact law supersedes any conflicting state law. When a state law says one thing, the rules of a compact apply for military connected students. If you ever have a question or are unsure of a course of action, call us or the SLO on base. It's always better to ask and get clarification from the beginning than it is to wait. So we're going to go through these kind of quickly, but again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll go ahead and answer them. Oh, there we go. The compact does not advocate for preferential or special treatment for military students. It does not impact curriculum or state local education authority on education. So yes, a military child could end up reading the same novel multiple times throughout high school. The compact does not waive that they do not have to read The Crucible again. The compact does not apply to pre-K or colleges, private, parochial, homeschool, or international schools abroad. However, the compact may be applied to children of additional agencies and military positions on a case-by-case basis if it is in the best interest of the child. An example of that would be the child of a military attaché who's posted to a non-DoDEA country and they return back to the States. Districts have the authority to grant compact coverage to that child. And the compact also does not cover every situation a military child may encounter. It provides districts and schools flexibility to make accommodations within the scope of the compact. And then we help to facilitate cases to do what's in the best interest of the child. So it covers educational records. So schools can request, can accept unofficial hand-carried records to enroll in place. And then the sending school has 10 business days to send official records. Under the compact, schools are to place the student first, according to the transcripts, and then reevaluate if necessary once the transcript arrives. Immunizations are covered. So a child has 30 days from enrollment to obtain any required immunizations. The first shot must be received within the 30 days, and then the subsequent ones can be outside that 30-day window. The TB test is not an immunization, and therefore the compact does not cover waiving of a TB test, a negative TB test for enrollment if necessary. Course program placement and attendance. Since kindergarten enrollment is the area that is most frequently questioned, since each state has different enrollment state criteria. The compact guarantees that a child can continue their education or be promoted to the next grade, provided the child has attended kindergarten in an accredited school in any previous state. They must have attended, not just been enrolled. They must have sat in a kindergarten seat in order to start kindergarten and continue kindergarten. Otherwise, Nevada's kindergarten age requirements apply. Now that the child is being enrolled in school, we're going to look at what it says about placement and attendance. So advanced coursework, special education services, and absences related to deployment. For this site, we're only focused on course placement and things like GATE. IEPs and 504s will cover a little bit on the next because that's federal law, not state law. So the compact requires the student be placed in courses and programs based on prior enrollment. Remember, they continue their education path. So the receiving state may perform evaluations to ensure the appropriate placement. But again, place first, then test. So if a student was in a GATE in a previous state, you place them in GATE in Nevada, and then you can give them your district's GATE test to see if that placement continues. LEAs have the flexibility to waive course or program prerequisites or other preconditions if similar coursework has been completed. So like, let's say your district requires a student to take pre-AP before they take AP. And they come to Nevada and the previous state didn't have pre-AP, but they're enrolled in AP. you would place the student in AP without the prerequisite, you would waive them. Waivers are not mandatory. However, if a waiver is denied, the school must demonstrate why the waiver was denied, beyond saying, we don't do that. And then absence, the compact adheres to the Individuals with Disability Education Act. So you may notice that special education services for military connected students do not greatly differ from the rules for all new special education students at the school. So the compact does not supersede federal law. There may be some differences on a case-by-case basis, but those are very rare. The receiving state must initially provide the same services identified in the student's IEP or 504 plan, and the receiving state may perform evaluations to ensure that the placement is appropriate. The compact does not require the district or school to provide the exact program as the sending state. So for example, if the sending state, they had speech language services with music, the school does not need to create speech language services for music because the service is speech language. The program was with music, right? You would provide speech language according to the school and district. Again, place first and then test. And we do ask that when a military connected student is being referred by the school in Nevada for initial services under an IEP or 504, the school should assist the family by reminding them to contact their exceptional family member program coordinator. I think Iris had put something about the EFMP in the chat previously, and to see if they're eligible to enroll in the EFMP program. Each branch has their own point of contact for this service, however, and that can be confusing for schools. So the EFMP at Nellis has graciously offered to be a single point of contact for any, and schools can provide their number and they will help the family get connected to the correct branch. And I believe Martha's going to put that in the chat for you now. So absences due to deployment. So granting additional absences, excused absences for students is crucial, as these days away from the school are a time for the family to make memories before a deployment from which their parent may not return. Schools may allow additional excused absences so the student can visit their parent or legal guardian due to deployment or posting to a combat zone. And remember, the deployment window is 1 month prior and 6 months after they return. So that's the window for excused absences due to a deployment. It does not impose a minimum or a maximum number of days, but every child and every deployment is different. So schools should make a reasonable accommodation based on the best interest of the child. And so does anybody know where to find the official government list of deployment zones? Because there is one that you are more than welcome to check. Yes, so Martha got it in the chat for you. The IRS actually houses the official zone, the combat zone list. And that's because of duty pay. Okay. Oftentimes a single parent or a dual service member family will need to leave their child in the care of another family if they deploy at the same time. Those designated by the service member to have custody of their child are referred to as non-custodial parents. And when this happens, all educational responsibility is passed to them, including releasing educational information. They're to be granted the same rights and authority as the parent while the parent or parents are deployed. They can continue to attend their current school, even if the non-custodial parent lives outside of the zone. The LEA cannot charge tuition to military children who are placed in the care of a non-custodial parent. The one thing is also that transportation is the responsibility of the non-custodial parent if they live outside of the transportation zone. So extracurricular activities are things like DECA and clubs and sports. And so local schools and agencies may provide the opportunity for inclusion in these activities, regardless of deadlines, as long as the child is otherwise qualified. Facilitating the opportunity can look different for every child and every school and every activity and every sport. That's why the compact is broad on this, right? But the LEAs and schools should work with the family and the sending school to determine what that opportunity looks like. The compact does not include state athletic associations that are not affiliated with the state or LEAs, like club sports, travel basketball teams, those private ones. This only includes the sports associated with our schools. Although you have to demonstrate a reasonable accommodation, there's no requirement to hold open or create spaces. Okay. And graduation. The compact does allow schools the flexibility to waive courses required for graduation. The students should not repeat coursework they have completed, and they need to receive the credit that they earned in the sending state. They should also not be required to take numerous additional classes in order to graduate. Schools can accept end of course exams, national achievement tests, alternate testing in lieu of receiving state school requirements for graduation. We can also arrange a reciprocal diploma where the student graduates and is issued the diploma from their previous school while attending required courses in Nevada. The compact does not give parents the right to request a change of graduation requirements, however. Still have to meet them. We have flexibility in how we meet them. You just can't get rid of them. Okay, so if there's an issue, we have SLO. We determine whether it is a compact issue or not. And then we work together collaboratively with the school, the district, the parent, and the SLO to help determine the best path for the student. Okay, so we are coming up on the end here, so we're going to go through that one. This is our favorite part. Oh, I mean, the compact is favorite too. But Martha and I actually do longer webinars specifically on the compact. So if you would like one for your school or organization, you can email us and we will gladly arrange that and go through them all in more depth. But knowing about resiliency and travel and the compact, Nevada has the Purple Star School program, and it is designed to help schools respond to the education and social challenges that military students face. We have 2 applications a year: April, month of the military child, and November, month of the military family. We're coming up on our 4th round of awards this November, so very excited. Schools can apply at any time during the year, and they're just accepted whether, November or April. They're reviewed and scored. There are certain required activities that the school has to do every year to maintain, 1, to be designated, and then 2, to maintain the Purple Star status. And then there's also a required course that has lots of resources and information, videos, a lot more in depth about military culture and children. That's required of the school to take. And then there's optional activities. And we also allow schools in Nevada to create their own activity in order to celebrate and recognize military children. So hopefully, I am like right on 12:25. We will stick around for questions if you want. We had to go very, very quickly. Martha, were there any questions in the chat? And we want to thank everybody for joining us. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about military culture and the compact.